Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. This week, I've got two very special guests with me on the podcast. I have Tiffany, Beste and Sara, Klawonn, who are here to talk about this Sunday is our children and youth are leading worship and doing the Christmas program. And you two ladies are kind of the ones making it happen. And so I thought it would be good to hear from them, get a little insight on what we might expect and how much work it takes to put this on, because this is an incredible amount of work. And I, for one, love it, not just because it gives me a week off during Advent, which is great, but because I'm a mom as well, and my kids are part of it. And it brings me so much joy. So let's just start with, when did you two start talking about, start planning, start working on what you were going to be doing for this Sunday?
That's a good question. I know for sure it goes well back into before trunk or treat, because when trunk or treat is done, we start preparing after that, because this time of year goes very fast. So I don't remember the first conversation we had, probably August, September.
Yeah, I think as soon as Vacation Bible School was over.
Yep.
I started thinking about Christmas.
Yep. She starts thinking about what songs we're going to sing, and I try to get her, hopefully by that point, a program so she has a gauge of what direction to go with the songs. So yeah, there's probably a lot of mental planning between VBS and trunk or treat. And then after trunk or treat, probably the most challenging part about the program is we see the kids once a week.
Right.
So it's, you kind of have to spread it out over a long period of time, because you get 1 hour once a week from the beginning of November to December 17th. And so you get, and there's Thanksgiving in there. So you get about 5 weeks ish of actually preparing with the kids. So they're always phenomenal. They do a great job. They have kind of become accustomed to what things will look like. So, that's kind of what's been happening here. We still incorporate lessons and activities, but Sara, her music time is spent singing a lot of these songs while also singing other songs, because you guys sang in church on like November 18th or something in there. So we still continue to do our normal activities, but also throw on top of it the preparation for the Christmas program.
Which is really incredible, because 605, like the programming of 605 is what, 35 minutes?
Yeah. So when we say an hour of preparation time a week,
it's not even that.
No, but at least the kids have heard the songs, and most of them they can find on YouTube, or we can get lyrics out to them so that they can continue to prepare outside of church. I would say our big preparation group is this year it's our 5th and 6th graders, because they are our actors, and they've had their scripts like probably since trunk or treat, or maybe a week after trunk or treat. My hope is always that they're at home spending some time on those, but we probably do a little less lesson with the 5th and 6th graders and a little more preparation for Christmas, just because they are the ones that are the key players of this all. And I find this year a little bit interesting. This is kind of a small group of kids for us. So most of our kids have doubled roles, where they might be Joseph and a wise man, or a wise man and a shepherd, or something like that. So these particular kids have probably had twice as much to learn, and we're pretty giving with them, as we should be. We don't require that they memorize all of their lines, because that would get to be a lot for them with the short amount of time we have. So it is more so just becoming comfortable with what they're saying, so that when they get up in front of people, they can speak clearly and loudly and be prepared to do that. Anything on our singers?
Well, I think you always hope that there's a song that every year, no matter what the age group, that they really, it clicks with them. And I mean, every month you hope that there's a song that it really clicks with them. And I think with each age group this year, there is a song that they come in and they're just like, oh, let's do it. And like with the youngest age group this year, for whatever reason, I didn't think it was going to click with them, but I mean, the littlest ones come in, they're like, oh, let's do hoof beats. And I'm like, woo, like, and then with the older ones, again, it was a brand new song to me, but Jesus is here. I mean, they've really liked singing that one. But it was new to me. So like every week I'm like going, all right, let's prep, Sarah, Jesus is here, because usually Christmas songs, I really like to have it under my belt, so.
Well, and we have a couple of traditional ones in there, like the manger and
yes, because you've got
angels
it.
we have
Yes.
heard on high.
I
So
think it's really good that they really learn a traditional song every year with the Christmas service, because it's new to them.
Right.
I mean, it's not new to us, but it's really new to them.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
And a lot of times those songs have a lot of really great meaning in them. Like if you're actually listening to the lyrics, it's, Away in a Manger is telling the story of Jesus's birth. So like that's great for them to learn in that way.
And it connects with the people who are there.
Right.
In the congregation watching.
Yeah.
One thing I will mention is last week someone lifted up in our prayer time that they got to church a little late and they're like, there wasn't a place to park. And that was last week. And so one thing I would mention for this week is the earlier you get here, the closer you'll get to park, because I foresee us having a full house.
Yep.
What time are the kids supposed to be here?
Well, really for the kids, so the youth kids also are the ones that actually host the service. So our youth kids, we're probably going to have them be here if they're ushering or greeting, or depending on what their role is, 9:30, 9:45, hopefully not much later than that for any of them. And they're the ones that lead the service that day, which is and I think that they actually really like that. They kind of maybe try to pretend like they don't, but I think that they actually really do enjoy it. And we have them singing a song again this year. We did it 2 years ago. We had the youth sing a song, and I thought it was great. I feel like we didn't last year though have just the youth sing, or was that a Manger Throne? Was that last year? I don't remember, but the youth are singing as well. I can't remember what year. I don't know why.
Everything kind of blurs together, honestly.
It really does. It does year after year what exactly everybody did. But they're singing as well. So that's good. So youth will be here earlier. Kids themselves, preschool through 6th grade, none of them will actually come up till after offering. We're going to do offering, we'll do children's message, and then we'll do their little script play part of it. So they will sit with their parents for half of the service, and then they'll come up front for the rest of that. So they can come with their parents at maybe 5 minutes earlier than their normal time, just to make sure they can get a spot in the church and in the parking lot.
Again, I think that's going to be a big thing this year, because we always have family that comes to, watch their kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews come, and I love that we have the youth leading the service, and again, not just selfishly because it means I'm not, but because I think it's really important for them to have that experience, but also for our church to see.
Right.
So this would maybe be something that I've heard here and there. People say, oh, it's the children's program. That's not real church. I'm not going to go that day. What would be your response to someone who might have that viewpoint? And they're thinking, maybe I won't go to church on Sunday since it's the kids and youth.
Well, I would say we take the real service that Pastor Katie puts in Planning Center, and we go off of that. Like our youth kids lead us through all of the normal elements of a church service. There's going to be hymns, there's going to be a call to worship, there's going to be offering and a prayer and all of that. The kids program part is the sermon, and there is a message as part of the program, and there is scripture as part of the program. So really, we won't do as good of a job as Pastor Katie does every Sunday. It'll just be a different version of what Pastor Katie does. So it really is very much a normal Sunday service, just with the kids providing it, and they provide very much what we offer every Sunday. So that's what I would say. Agree? And we're still going to sing some songs up front, and we're going to have, I think part of our worship team is helping to lead those this week.
Yeah. And we, when I work with the kids, I really explain to them that they're worship leaders.
Yeah.
And that they're helping other people experience God in a way that it's just a little bit different, but they're leading that singing. And in November they led the doxology, and I thought it was beautiful.
Yep.
And they took it very seriously. I
Yeah.
thought they did a beautiful, beautiful job.
Well, and I would say on top of it, this is just a really easy way to support the kids.
Absolutely.
All
Mhm.
that is expected of the adults is to come and sit in a pew and clap and smile and be reassuring, because for these kids that are getting up in front of a congregation, we all know that can be incredibly intimidating. So I tell them all the time, preschool up through high school, all the people want to see is you do your thing, and they
Yeah.
are going to be so proud of you no matter how it is that this goes. And so coming just to support them, I think, is incredibly important.
Yeah, because I mean, think of it, if you flip it around, you know, how might the children and youth feel if you don't come?
Right. If the sanctuary were empty.
If it were empty,
That would
and it
be
would
very
feel like
sad.
that this was not something that was valuable or important.
right.
So again, that was just always surprising to me that that's come out a few times that I've heard that, like, I'm not going to go to that one. And to me, you nailed all of the reasons. One, it is worship. This is a worship service, and we treat it that way, and the youth and children treat it that way. But also, this is our opportunity to invest in them and to show them how important and that they are a part of the church and a valid part of the church. And the way that they rise up to lead is really important. And so I do hope that our church comes out for this Sunday in particular. And if you do, what do we have following worship?
So following worship, we are having a brunch, as we did last year, which was great. It was just, I think almost everybody that went to church came down and had brunch last year. And it's a great way to socialize, fellowship with each other. You get to see and talk with and maybe congratulate all of the kids on the job that they did. And it's all being provided. I mean, we've got all the items already brought in by everybody. We're going to have some egg bakes.
I did remember the eggs. So
good job. That was
we will have egg bakes.
Cinnamon rolls, fresh baked items. It's just going to be very nice. And again, all you have to do is come down and eat. So the expectation on Sunday morning is very limited for most everyone to come to a church service led by the kids and then go downstairs and eat food.
And for the parents, your kids don't have to get here all that early.
No.
You just have to get them here. And then you don't even have to worry about lunch.
Right. It's great. It's like the best of all the worlds.
It's the best of all the worlds. Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say is your favorite part of doing this? Because this is, I'll be honest, in all of the jobs I've had in churches over the years, I have never been the one responsible for a Christmas program. And that's fairly intentional because it seems super stressful to me. But I know the two of you, this is much more in your wheelhouse, but I would be curious to know what makes you excited about it? What are the joys that you see in doing this work?
Well, this year in particular, I think it's been with the youngest kids, the song, just seeing them own it. And then with the older kids, month after month, they just seem to love singing and worshiping in church. That part is great. But my favorite part of the service is singing Go Tell It on the Mountain. We were practicing last night with worship team. I got a little carried away. I forgot there's only 3 verses. I started playing verse 4. There is no verse 4 in any universe. Just saying.
I agree, though. I think by the time we get to Go Tell It on the Mountain, I'm almost teary-eyed. Probably a little bit because it's done and a kind of a sense of relief. Like, okay, we made it. But also when it's everybody's up there, because it's the youth and all the kids up there singing and the congregation is singing, it's like this final hurrah of just really great. So I would say Go Tell It on the Mountain is awesome. And I would say that in general, like Katie said, I think as this is like the 7th year I've done one. Sara joined 3 years ago. I know my first year I was in super stress mode from trunk or treat until the production. But over the years, every year it comes together. And so I've just gotten to the point right now where I say to myself, Tiff, it's going to be fine. It's going to come together and it's going to be awesome. And it is. So I think that that's what I appreciate so much, is that these kids really do just kind of embrace it and they want to do it well. And whenever we do it, it always goes really, really good. Better than I expect sometimes, but every year it goes really well.
Awesome. And I have the unenviable task of having to follow up with it the next week. So Yeah, that'll be fun. So that's coming this Sunday, the 17th. So we are going to be doing Christianity 101. We're moving that upstairs into the confirmation room this week as they prep for the brunch that's following worship. We're going to be talking about divorce, which doesn't feel like it's congruous with what the rest of the day is, but I take requests for topics, and that's one that is always one that people are wrestling with, or are struggling with, or wanting to talk about. How do we wrestle with the words of Jesus and how we understand the realities of marriage and divorce? And so we're going to be talking about that 8:30 Sunday morning. Then we have worship led by our children and youth following, and then a brunch following. So not our normal fellowship time up in the lounge, but down in our Wesley Hall, our main fellowship hall. That's where that'll be. And then I just want to throw a few other things out there at you. So the following Tuesday night, the 19th, that will be our Blue Christmas service. We have started working with the UCC Church. We worked with them in VBS this year, and that went phenomenally well. Can I say that? It went very well. And so we've decided to keep working together on some of these special services. And so the Blue Christmas service will actually be hosted at the UCC Church this year. And they are also hosting a meal beforehand at 6. If you're interested in going to the meal, they would love to have you. They would love to get kind of an idea of numbers, so they make sure they have enough. I believe they're doing sort of a soup meal. Just let me know if you're planning to attend. If you don't let me know, you can still attend. But that's happening Tuesday the 19th, meal at 6 o'clock, service at 7 o'clock at the UCC Church. That's the one by the community library, or where the banquet is, which we are doing the banquet, by the way, after Christmas on December 28th. The sign-up sheets are now in the lobby. Thank you. That's the word. And so you can sign up either to volunteer or to bring items, or both. Those are there. Thank you to everybody for doing the angel tree this year. All of our gifts have been turned in and have been boxed up and are on their way to their destination. Thank you to Tom and Jane Gilmore for being the ones who transport the gifts and get them to the kids of Milks Camp. Christmas Eve is a busy day here at the church, and you are invited to worship with us that day. That morning, we'll be having our regular Sunday worship at 10 a.m. because that's the fourth Sunday of Advent. It's a little bit different this year, but the way Advent works is that the 4 Sundays of Advent are the 4 Sundays prior to Christmas Day, and Christmas is on Monday, which means the 4th Sunday of Advent is Christmas Eve. So that morning, we will be doing the 4th Sunday of Advent and finishing up our series on heaven and earth. And then we will have 2 Christmas Eve services that evening, one at 4:30 and the other one at 7. And those are both our candlelight services that you are invited to come to and celebrate and worship with us there. We do not have a Christmas Day service. That's not a regular practice of our church. We hope that you spend that day celebrating the birth of Christ with your loved ones if you are able to do so. So Tiffany and Sarah, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. And if you are interested in being a part of the podcast, I would love to hear from you. I am looking to put together a schedule for the podcast for the coming year, and I would love to have more guests on it. I just feel like it's better to hear from all of you and for you to hear from each other than always just listening to me. And so if that's something that you might be interested in, or you have someone that you would love to hear on the podcast, please let me know and I will reach out to them and get them on the schedule. And if you'd love to hear more from these two, let me know that as well. So with that, I can't wait to see you in worship with us this Sunday as our children and youth lead us in their Christmas program. Until next time, God bless. Thank you for listening to this episode of What's Going On. We'd love to have you join us for worship here at the church on Sundays at 10 a.m. You can also find us online via our website at firstumcyankton.org or search for us on YouTube.